right here is one of the scales, and I've put the pivot pin through like that, you can see, and then I have a brass pin that's taking the place of my stop pin, and this little pin is in there, but you don't really need it to be. So what we're going to work on is the action of the knife, and so I'm going to put this on here carefully like that and check and make sure that the blade clears. Sometimes what you have to do is file or grind a little bit off of here so that this radius clears this pin and doesn't gall. And so there you can see it in the closed position, and as you can see we have to adjust it because the blade is above the knife. And on this one, when it comes back, we can see that, see if I can get you to see that, the blade is just a little bit under. You can see the top of the scale right here. You can look like that. And it's just poking up a little bit back here. So what we need to do is just very carefully adjust this, and we're going to do that by taking a little bit of metal off right here with a round file so that that sits down a little bit. And then here where it stops, we're also going to take some metal off right here. I always leave a little bit extra on so that you can adjust it. You can always take metal off, but you can't glue it back on. So we're going to adjust this so that it will go down in the blade something like that. So the tip will be nice and protected, and looks good like that. And then we'll have enough room in here for a spacer. And we're going to make a spacer for this after the blade is adjusted, and we're going to make it out of the same material, the leftover blade material, because it'll be the same thickness as the blade. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do that real quick here. So as you can see on the blade here, this pin is a little bit covered up, and so if you just take a Sharpie, or in this case I've got a pencil, and I'm just going to mark right there so I kind of have an idea in the radius as this spins where to take metal off. And so that's going to be right in here. And then the same when I open it up like this and know I need to take a little bit off so it'll go down further, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to adjust that down so it's even. And you can see I left a little, bit of you can see I left a little bit of extra on the outside of the scales, so we'll just grind that off when the time comes. But I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm just going to mark right here where that steel needs to come off, and then just very patiently I'm going to use a round file like this. I also have a smaller one, and we're going to enlarge those until we get the knife fitted perfectly. So I'm just filing carefully, I'm not taking too much off, using long, even strokes. And we've gotten a little off, so let's test that and see what that looks like. Okay, so we're getting closer, but as you can see we're not quite there yet. So just take a little more off. I'll use this little one now. And I'm just kind of evenly filing so that I don't, have a divot, but it's pretty even throughout there. Just going in one direction very carefully. And much closer. That's looking almost there. Well, it's really looking like a knife, and the next thing that we need to do is make a spacer. So it'll be back here at the end of the blade, and just kind of keep the scales at the same width as the knife blade, which is important to keep the whole thing parallel. And so what I'm going to do is just take a little piece of paper like this, open up the knife, and I'm just going to push this paper on over the pin, poke through, and then just align it so that I can see where the blade falls. So I'll just close it like this, and then take a pencil and mark out the outline. So I'm just creasing it here, and then I'll take the edge of the pencil and just rub it on the crease a little bit to give you an idea of where that is. And just kind of like that. So once I have those drawn in, I'm just going to draw in a line where the blade is. And of course we're going to want our spacer to go down underneath that so that the blade isn't touching anything when it's in the closed position. So I'll just go in a little bit here, maybe an 1/8 of an inch or so, maybe a little wider, and just make some marks like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can't see in there really, so I'm not bothering to match perfectly the curve of the blade or anything like that. And then I'm just going to come down a little bit further, not too far, and just draw a line straight down, and that's going to be the shape of my spacer. So after cutting that spacer out with a pair of scissors, I'm going to use some of this spray adhesive. You can use Elmer's glue or glue stick or something like that. I'm going to stick that onto this blade steel. It's nice to have something to hold on to, so I'm going to use that skinny tang as a handle. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm in the right location for drilling, so I'm just checking with this handle scale, lining that up, and then making a dot on there. And then I'll take that to the drill press and drill a hole. So after I drill that hole, I'm just scribing, marking a little bit of a center line, and I'll do the same thing at the drill press. I'll get the location of this hole and then center punch and drill it. Okay, so now that 2 holes are drilled in there, I'm ready to cut this out and have a spacer. So this is what the spacer will look like on the knife. I just have the 1 pinhole through, and you can see I left myself a little room to fit the spacer with some grinding. I'm just going to clip on a pair of vice grips, leave the 1 pin in, and drill that 2nd hole. So I just take it to the vise in the drill press, drill down through that carefully, and now I have the location of the 2nd hole, and it looks like that. I'll attach the 2nd scale to it, put the pin through, put the pivot and the stop pin through so that it's really fit up nicely, and then I'll drill through the 1 scale and down through the other scale. And that's just a little way to make sure that your holes line up on your folder. Okay, here's all the pieces, and we're going to assemble this and just kind of see how it works. The micarta is a little tight right now. It'll loosen up after the pins go in and out a couple times. And stick those through. Make sure that our spacer fits on there. Yep, looking good. And then I'll put the other pieces together. The stop pin's in there already. Fit the pivot in, kind of press fit it in there. And looks like that's ready to go. So now we just put the blade on, like that. Put the other scale with the stop pin in it on top, and just carefully in the back work those pins down through. And if you've drilled them right, it'll be nice and straight and won't bind and go together nicely. So wow, making real progress here. There's the knife with the spacer in it, and that is looking like a friction folder. All we have to do is grind the blade, heat treat and polish, and then we'll take a little bit off right here and right here so that that spacer is even to the handle. We'll just do that super carefully. Now it's time to grind your blade, and what we're going to be doing is Aaron Gerber will be showing us how to use the little filing jig that Aaron Goff taught us to make, and let's check out his progress.
Hey guys, Aaron Gerber here. Just wanted to hit on filing my knife a little bit. The other Aaron showed you some tips and tricks on how to use this filing jig after he completed his. And so I just wanted to show you my knife a little bit here and how I kind of got it set up. Since it's a smaller blade than what Aaron showed us in his video, I left the handle on just to get it up high enough so that I could get the correct angle on the blade, or at least what I think looks good. And you'll see I have it positioned over here on the edge of the table just because that's what was easiest for me to get the clamps on. And then I'm going to start with the tall eyelet, and that'll get me the more of an angle, and then we can move to the shorter one as I progress. So let's get going. Well, I pretty much have the blade all filed down. It turned out really well. I was really excited for a first time knife maker. I wasn't sure what I was getting into here. So I just set up the jig. You know, you saw first did one side here, flipped the knife over, did the opposite side of the blade on the other side. I saw one of our friends on Facebook and YouTube posted a video about how they hooked up a golf ball for a handle. I had a piece of leather here, so I just kind of put that over the sharp surfaces on that clamp, and that's what I used and just kind of put against there, and it worked out pretty well. So we'll take the clamp off of my knife here, and we'll take a look. I think it turned out pretty well, really. Both sides are really even, and then right down to the bottom, it looks pretty decent. So now I just got to get this handle finished up and on to the next steps.